G'day guys, and welcome back to the channel. I've got a really interesting video today. I'm going to put up the Garmin R10 against the Rapsodo MLM2 Pro, and what I'm really going to focus on today is spin axis and spin with the Garmin. Now, to keep this, I guess, as fair as possible, I'm going to be using the Rapsodo hooked up to my phone using the Rapsodo app. We all know the Rapsodo is incredibly accurate with spin rate and spin axis with its native app. I will be using an RPT ball for this test, and then I've paired my Garmin R10 up to my iPad. I'm going to be running the Garmin R10 today through Awesome Golf. And the reason for that is we all know that the Garmin app isn't the best. The reason I'm not using GS Pro is because a lot of people don't have access to a gaming laptop. And to run GS Pro, you need a gaming laptop. So what I thought I'd do today is hook up the R10 to Awesome Golf, which I've done a lot of testing on this. The Awesome Golf app is, in my opinion, compared to my Foresight GC2, the most accurate in terms of carry distance. GS Pro is a very close second, but I have to be fair, I have to be unbiased. The Awesome Golf app is more accurate in terms of the carry distance. I haven't done a full in-depth metrics test between Awesome Golf and GS Pro. I believe they're going to be very similar, but from the limited testing I did, the carry distance was slightly better using the Awesome Golf app. So today's test, I'm going to be using an RPT golf ball. This is going to give the MLM2 the ability to calculate or read the spin and also the spin axis, which is very important. I have, however, put a metallic dot on my ball that you can see just there. And the reason for this is because the Garmin R10 will pick up on that metallic dot as if this is an RCT golf ball, and it'll give really accurate spin numbers. One thing I want to stress, and I feel like there's a bit of misinformation in the community at the moment. One thing I really want to stress is the fact that the RCT ball with the Garmin does not help with spin axis. It doesn't help with spin axis. The Garmin R10 is not using the RCT ball for spin axis. It is using it to calculate the spin, and it is very accurate with the spin numbers when using an RCT ball. I've tested it against my GC2 and the spin numbers were pretty much identical. It was really impressive. However, using the metallic dot, I just did some quick testing and the spin numbers are perfect. So I'm happy with this setup. I think this is going to be a fair test. Like I said, I just want to stress it one more time. The RCT ball does not help with spin axis. It only helps with spin, with total spin. So what I'm going to do today, the test, I'm going to hit 7-irons. I'm going to hit some stock 7-irons. Everybody knows my stock 7-iron is pretty neutral to maybe a slight draw, a baby draw. That's always been my ball flight, a baby draw. And in terms of spin axis, we're maybe looking -1 to -4, anywhere in there for spin axis for me is a good read, and that's my normal ball flight is a slight draw. I will put up all the data at the end and we'll compare each shot individually after I've hit them, but I'm going to also go through the data as I hit the shots. Okay, so on the individual apps, I'm going to jump out to the range and I'm going to go to the coaching range on the Awesome Golf app. So it's a 7-iron and we're all set up with the Garmin. Let's go into simulation, Rapsodo range. We are in the net, we're using an RPT ball, and we'll just do sea level. All right, cool. So like I said, I'm really going to be focusing on two metrics. I'm going to be focusing on spin axis and spin rate. I'll leave total carry in there. Cool. So that is the Rapsodo setup. On the Garmin, which is using the Awesome Golf app as the software, we'll scroll over till we see spin and spin axis. So those are the two metrics I'm really concerned about today. All right, both units are green. We are ready to go. Let's hit our first shot. Okay, not the best shot. It should have a pretty decent draw. And that's what we're seeing on the Garmin, and that's what we're also seeing on the Rapsodo. So let's have a look at that data. On the Garmin, we had 6,855 RPM with a left 4.6 degree spin axis, so a -4.6 degree spin axis. On the Rapsodo, we had 6,800 RPM of spin, so the spin is pretty much identical. There's literally 10 RPMs in it, so that is incredible. For the spin axis, we had negative 6.8 on the Rapsodo. So the Rapsodo showing just a little bit more of a draw than the Garmin. But shot shape was correct with both of them. And this Garmin algorithm has become so refined and so good that it's incredible how often it gets the spin axis correct. It's more often than not. The one thing you've got to remember with the Garmin and the Rapsodo for that case is alignment is key. You really have to get your alignment correct. Okay, let's hit another stock standard 7-iron. Again, this should just be a neutral to maybe a slight draw. Okay, better strike. It did feel like a slight draw. The Garmin showing that as 7,000 RPM of spin and a dead straight ball. It did feel like a slight draw. The Rapsodo had 7,100 RPM with a negative 2.7 spin axis. So for me, Rapsodo nailed it. The Garmin just missed that one. Okay, that felt like a draw again. So in terms of spin, we had 6,738 RPM with the Garmin. We had a left 2.9 spin axis, so a negative 2.9 spin axis. Spin on the Rapsodo was 6,663. So spin is incredibly close between the two units. The metallic dot works. If you don't have RCT balls or you don't want to pay for the RCT balls, I got a big roll of tape from Bunnings, which is my local hardware store. I got a big roll of this metallic tape, and this was really cheap. It was about $10. So, I mean, I put a tiny little dot on my ball. You can really save yourself a bit of money. Looking at spin axis though, we had left 3 versus left 4. So again, the Garmin has nailed it with the spin axis. It's just not showing as much as the Rapsodo, but there's not a lot in it. Let's hit another shot. It was a nice swing. Okay, this will be interesting. The Garmin had 6,700 RPM. The spin axis, it actually had a tiny fade or pretty much dead straight. The Rapsodo had 6,862 RPM. So again, the spin is incredibly close. However, the Rapsodo is showing a baby draw. So on that shot there, the Garmin, in my opinion, had the wrong spin axis. I think that was moving a little bit right to left. Let's hit another 7-iron. Definitely a draw. Okay, the Rapsodo just had a little disconnect. So we'll hit another one. Okay, little baby draw on the Garmin. And the Rapsodo's missed another one. It keeps disconnecting. If it does one more of those, I'll have to reset the connection. But the Garmin did show a baby draw there, which is good. Okay, that was a push draw. And that's exactly what the Garmin's showing. Oh, we had a read now on the Rapsodo. Okay, that's interesting. So it felt like a push draw to me, and that's exactly what the Garmin's showing. It had it taking off right with a draw, spin of 7,050 and a negative 3.3 spin axis. On the Rapsodo, it had 7,000 RPM for the spin. However, the spin axis is 0.4 to the right. So that's interesting because the Rapsodo is saying that that one was a slight fade. So let's hit another one. I'll hit a couple more normal shots and then I'll start really trying to curve some. All right, decent strike there. Looking at the data, we had 6,800 RPM on the Garmin with a negative 1.1 spin axis, so a slight draw. The Rapsodo had 6,900 RPM and negative 2.5, so a left spin axis. That looks pretty good. I mean, the data between them again, the Garmin showing just slightly less of a draw, but the spin axis is correct. All right, let's hit one more regular 7-iron. Okay, not the best strike. It definitely was a draw. Garmin's picked that up as a left or a negative 4.8 spin axis. Rapsodo's just struggling with disconnects. So I'll do one more because I want to get one more comparison. All right, we had a left spin axis on the Garmin with 6,400 RPM and a negative 0.8 as a spin axis. The Rapsodo had that with quite a significant draw, so that's interesting. We had 6,379 RPM and a negative 5.1 spin axis. So again, Garmin's picked up on the spin axis. Rapsodo's showing a lot more of the draw. Let's now, I'll still hit 7-iron, but what I'm going to do is I'm really going to try and hit a big draw. So we should see this start a lot further right and hook back. Right, this is going to be interesting. So, Garmin, 6,657 RPM for the spin. We had a negative 11.9 spin axis. The Rapsodo, 6,648 for the spin. We had a negative 11.8 for the spin axis. That is pretty incredible. That is very close on the, I mean, it's identical spin axis. Let's do another one of those. Right, I've done it. I've hooked it more. Looking at the data, 6,352 RPM for the spin. We had a negative 13.1 on the spin axis with the Garmin. Rapsodo, we had 6,353. That's incredible. There's one revolution between them and a negative 16.3 spin axis. So Rapsodo showing just slightly more of a draw than the Garmin. All right, let's bend it the other way now. Let's hit a big slice, or I'll try and hit a big slice. That should be slicing. So to me, it felt like a bit more of a slice than the Garmin showing. We had 9,146 RPM with a right spin axis of 4.5 on the Garmin. On the Rapsodo, we had 9,050 RPM with a 13.7 spin axis. So to me, it felt like what the Rapsodo's showing with the spin axis. Okay, let's do that again. 7-iron, big slice. That is slicing like crazy. Okay, and I mean, look at all the data. A lot of the data, the Garmin missed that, the club path and face to path and all that, probably because it was such a big slice. We had 10,300 RPM with a 9.2 spin axis from the Garmin. We had 10,283 spin with the Rapsodo and a 17.2 spin axis. So, I mean, the Garmin again is correct with the spin axis. It's just not showing as much as the Rapsodo. Okay, let's go less extreme now. I am gonna do 7-iron. I'm gonna try and hit a bit more than my standard draw. So I'll try and move it right to left. I'll try and play it at about a -7, -8 spin axis. So I've got to hit a bit more of a draw than my standard shot. Okay, the Rapsodo missed that one. And it's just, looks like it's having a lot of disconnects, but the good news is it's reconnecting itself, so. All right, let's do that again. We'll go a bit more of a draw than my standard shot. And the Garmin's picked up on it perfectly. And that is a bit more than my standard draw. And the Rapsodo is just having a bit of a conniption. I am on a direct Wi-Fi connection with the Rapsodo, so it should be working. Okay, let's do the same again. Okay, Garmin got that. And so did the Rapsodo, cool. So we had 7,000 RPM on the Garmin with a -4.1 spin axis. We had 7,100 RPM with a -4 spin axis on the Rapsodo. So, I mean, that's perfect. Let's do another one of those. We'll go a bit more of a draw than my standard shot. That was a nice swing. Come on, Rapsodo. All right. And to be honest, I haven't seen this many disconnects when I'm using my iPad with my Rapsodo. I've got it on my Pixel 6, so for whatever reason, I'm just seeing a few more disconnects. But whenever I've had a direct connect on my iPad, the Rapsodo has been solid since the update. Not the best strike, but it was definitely drawing. Come on. Did that? Just had a massive misread maybe. Okay, we'll go again. Okay, another good one there by the Garmin, and the Rapsodo's got it. Lovely. So we had 6,350 RPM from the Garmin with a negative 3.4 spin axis. On the Rapsodo, we had 6,360 RPM with a negative 5 spin axis. So again, trying to hit a bit bigger of a draw. It looks like both units are getting it, and the Garmin, to be honest, is not too far off. It's showing slightly lower spin axis than the Rapsodo on most of the shots, but most of the time it is getting the correct spin axis. All right, the last thing I'm going to do before I wrap this video up is I'm going to hit a few baby fades, and hopefully we should see the spin axis match on both units. So let's hit a baby fade. Definitely a fade. And we had 7,550 RPM with a 3.7 spin axis from the Garmin. The Rapsodo had 7,500 RPM with a 4.5 spin axis. So again, spin axis is correct. And we'll do the same thing. We'll just do a little fade. That was a nice swing. Rapsodo struggling with a disconnect. All right, we'll hit one more. Oh, that was a bad swing. It wasn't solid. Okay, Rapsodo missed it again. And I have heard from a lot of people that they are having significantly more disconnects from this most recent update. So maybe it is. I haven't done enough testing to be able to confirm that. I did play 9 holes a couple of days ago on my iPad, and I put that video up and it worked flawlessly for me. So this is the first time using it with my phone though since the update. So maybe it is a device specific thing. Beautiful little fade there. And the Rapsodo's missed it. Another good swing. Okay, cool, the Rapsodo got it. Right, we had 7,597, so 7,600 RPM from the Garmin with a 3.7 spin axis. On the Rapsodo, we had 7,600 for a spin and a 3.6 spin axis. So pretty much identical on that last shot. Okay, one thing I'll do before I end this video is I'm just gonna go to the table. Now, what you gotta remember is the Garmin has a lot more shots in it because it registered every single shot, whereas the Rapsodo only registered, I'm going to be generous and say half the shots. So let's just go to home. We've got to go to the simulation tab, and we'll just open that last session we just had. Looking at all the data, looking at the averages, ball speed we had as 122.2 from the Garmin. We had 121.2 from the Rapsodo. So they're pretty much identical. The Rapsodo did miss a lot of shots, so potentially it's low because it missed a couple of good ones. Looking at average carry distance, we had 168 from the Rapsodo. We had 169.7 from the Garmin there. Again, the Rapsodo missed a lot of shots, so that could potentially induce some error in that number. However, they are pretty close. Looking at spin axis, so let's go over to spin axis. And look at all the data you get with the Garmin. It's just incredible. I love this layout in Awesome Golf. It is absolutely fantastic that you get this layout. It's just, it reminds me a lot of the Foresight software, which is, it's really cool. All right, let's go over to spin axis. So looking at the first few shots, negative 8.6, negative 2.7, negative 4.2, negative 4.1. Those were those stock standard shots. And looking at the Garmin, again, a lot of them are showing negative numbers or left numbers. All of the data seemed to match pretty good throughout the test. There was a couple where the Garmin just had the wrong spin axis, or it's different to the Rapsodo. Again, I kind of think the Rapsodo has the advantage of spin axis, so I'm going to take the Rapsodo's spin axis as a more accurate number, and I'm using that as the reference to compare the Garmin to. But overall, I think the spin axis was extremely good on the Garmin. It got it right most of the times, and the times that it didn't get it right were mostly because I was hitting a stock standard shot where the numbers are going to be so much closer to zero that it's going to make it really hard for the Garmin to estimate. When I hit those exaggerated draws and fades, the Garmin picked up on those really well. All right, guys, so quickly wrapping this video up. The algorithm that the Garmin's using to estimate the spin axis, which directly affects the shot shape, is actually extremely good. It's really cool to see how accurate that algorithm has gotten over the past year or two. With the Garmin, you're not going to get 100% hit rate with the spin axis. We know this. However, you're probably getting about 90 to 95% correct spin axis. And it might not show as much as the Rapsodo, but at least it's the correct direction. All right, guys, that's going to wrap up this video. Hope you enjoyed that. If you did, let me know. If you got any comments or questions, let me know down below, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Cheers.